All right, let's do this. We are talking about the Detroit Red Wings goalie prospect system, I'd say. My issue is right now is there's a lot of debate that everyone's saying Trey Augustine is the next goalie. He is the Red Wings goalie. He's probably taking over the number one spot. And I've seen this on multiple lists, and I actually tweeted out about this a couple times. And I'm having a hard time understanding this, and I kind of want to go over some of the numbers and just kind of go over with you guys on what I'm seeing, and maybe get started a discussion, because I'm not saying that Trey Augustine is the not number one. He might be, but at this point we just don't know yet because he was just so recently drafted that I'm excited for him. I think he's showing great promise. Right, we saw some great promise out of Sebastian Cossa as well, and he was drafted higher. And also he's playing at a higher level, so he's gonna have harder competition. So that's where I'm kind of wondering, what are we looking for? What are we seeing? And I know there's not a ton of advanced statistics on the goalie prospects, but I do want to go over a couple of people that we're seeing in the system and just kind of see what's happening with them. So here we have their goalie list. This is the elite prospects page right here. Trey Augustine, Carter Gylander, Michael Hutchinson, Sebastian Cossa, Jan Bednar, Rudy Guimond, I'd say, and John Litherman, and then Joran, he's a non-factor. He's 26, I believe. He's out in the Swiss league. I think they have his rights still, but he's 26, so I don't think he's going to be the goalie of the future, at least. And there's been no discussion of him. And especially playing in the Swiss league, which is a much lower league than like the AHL, I think it's just not a great determination of who's going to be in that spot. So I just don't think he's going to be it. So kind of going over a couple of pieces. I want to just kind of knock a couple out real quick. Michael Hutchinson, he's not your goalie of the future. He's a great fourth goalie. He filled in great. They signed him to an NHL deal because Husso went down, and so did Lyon. And so they had Reimer, and they had Hutchinson as backup because they didn't want to call up Cossa. Totally get it. You don't want to stun his growth. So you bring in Hutchinson because he's your veteran player in the AHL. So great. But that's really we're going to cut it off there. So that's someone we're not going to factor into this list right now. But let's go over a couple of them. There are 6 goalies that we're going to be going over. The one we're not going to be really going over is actually John Litherman as well. I'll go over him for a hot second, but we'll just start. So I want to start with Sebastian Cossa. So one of the big, I disagreed with this when it happened. I was like, okay, cool. It's 2021, I believe, is when he was drafted. 2021, 15th overall. I'm like, Red Wings. Oh my God, Red Wings are 23rd. They're going to draft someone, and they move up. So they moved up from 23rd to the 15th overall pick. They traded a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. And they're like, oh, my God, they're going to get a goalie. They're going to move up to get one of the goalies. Great. They're probably going to get Wallstead. He's Swedish. They're so familiar with Swedes. This is great. And they picked Cossa. And I was like, they picked Cossa? And I'm not. And I like Cossa. I met Cossa. And one of the reasons I'm wearing this hat is Cossa actually signed this hat. He's right. SC right here. It's backwards, of course. SC. But Sebastian Cossa right here. I met him at the draft with my wife. So I like Cossa as a person. I think he's got the intangibles. Look at this, 6'6" right here. 21 years old. Again, so young, but he was drafted out of the WHL, which the Red Wings have not had great prospects coming out of the WHL. One of the main first rounders that they got was Michael Rasmussen. And mind you, he was drafted higher than he should have been, so that's not his fault in that case. But he is not a 9th overall draft pick, and I think as a Red Wings fan base, we kind of discussed that. He's a great player. He's a great personality. I think they want to keep him long-term, maybe on a just short, like a long-term, maybe like a 6-year, like $3 million contract. That'd be kind of cool. He's a good depth guy, but he's not a first-round draft pick. Quality, right? What you're looking for. So that's what we're looking for, Sebastian Cossa. So when you get a 15th overall draft pick, I was skeptical from the start, and I'm still skeptical. And what we've always been told, and this is where I didn't understand Yzerman, because Yzerman doesn't take big swings. He has his guys that he knows he wants and that are pretty good. He has a type, right? And they're usually like you look at Nate Danielson, you look at Casper. Those two guys as centers, they are your prototypical. They're your guys. They're two-way guys. They're a little physical. They get down the dirty areas. They have high-end skill, but they're not going to be your 110-point guys, right? They're the guys that are going to be a good two-way people, right? And they're all around good game, good leadership. And then you have Raymond. There was high skill. He was the best player in the draft at that point. But you have these guys that they're kind of the two-way guys. They're not really high risk, right? If they want to draft someone high risk, they would have done like someone like William Eklund, right? Someone with a little higher, more like higher scoring prowess, right? Like what Buffalo did with Benson, or Gabriel, who the Rangers got. They picked Cossa, who was the more project, higher end talent, more athleticism, more ability, more. He was a big guy, athletic. He can make the big saves, but his technique and his some of the things that he was doing, he was making small mistakes that were throwing him off, and he was letting easy goals in. And that was one of the big things. I was like, oh wow, you're gonna take a goalie with that high athleticism, who it's a high risk, but it's a really high reward as well. And that's where I was a little confused on why he picked Cossa. I'm excited for him. I still think he's going to pan out to be a good goalie. I think no matter what, he's going to play on the Red Wings. I'll be even if it's a backup situation. Is he going to be starter caliber? I think he has the ability to, but it has to pan out. There's needs to be small stuff that he needs to work on. And the reason I'm saying that he needs to work on some of this is because you're looking at some of his numbers. He's performed very well on some very good junior teams, right? With the Wheat Kings, look at great, phenomenal statistics, right? And you could say, okay, these were good teams, and yes, they were. I mean, look at they went one year they went 17. He won 17 games, right? With in the WHL with the Oil Kings, he won 33 games. And I mean, these numbers are great numbers, right? And you're not just gonna get these numbers because you are because you have a good team around you, giving easy shots. You have to put up good numbers still with that, and he is putting up great numbers with those in his junior teams, right? World Juniors, he looked great right here, right? It was only one game, but he looked great. Then he went to the AHL, and he did not look great. I mean, you can see it. And mind you, Grand Rapids was not a good team either. So, and they actually got worse this year, by the way, which is crazy to me. But so he was down to the ECHL. Now, a first-round draft pick goalie doesn't get sent to the ECHL. Do you think Vasilevsky got sent down to the ECHL? He doesn't. He didn't. He started in the AHL. He did play in Russia for a little bit, but for a guy like Cossa playing the ECHL, he did well. I mean, .913, 2.56, not too bad, right? You know, in the playoffs, look at 7 games, 2.232 or 2.32 goals against average and a .97 in the playoffs. Great, that's awesome. That's tougher competition, right? So he's playing well in that case. In the AHL, he did slide back a little bit, right? So he's looking at a little below 900, a little above 3 goals against average, and he is playing with Hutchinson splitting that there, 5, 6, and 3. Again, Grand Rapids isn't that great, but it's not what you want to see. You want to see a little bit more promise, especially for someone like when you're seeing with Wallstedt putting up with the Wild. You just want to see a little more promise. Again, this is still a project guy, so in my opinion, he's not coming up next year. He's not. He needs more development, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that, and I'm willing to wait because I know goalies don't hit their prime. He's like 21 right now. Yeah, 20 things that we talked about earlier. He's 21. So, I mean, if he came up at 24 and was a stellar at 24, great, right? But it's just that it's the unknown that makes me, and maybe it's not me necessarily, but it's the fan base that is around that is making me feel this way. So, anyways, I've spent a ton of time on Cossa, and the reason I have is because he's the most known of all the goalies, and so I had enough to talk about him. But now let's jump into Trey Augustine, who had a phenomenal World Juniors. Only played, I think it was 1 or 2 games. Let me look up here. He was drafted in 2023, I believe. Yes, 2023, second round, 41st overall. So just above mid-round pick. Ooh, we're too far. Anyways, so he played with State, a .96, awesome. 2.93, it could be a little better, but that's okay. I mean, 11, 3, and 2. He played well, more than 1 shutout, 17 games. World Juniors, .952 with a 1.5 goals against average in 2 games. Phenomenal. So, that's exactly what we want to see. Played phenomenal in the national development team. With the Nationals, or USNTDP. .9. These are great statistics, right? Didn't have a great U18 juniors, .882, but he did get 3 wins, 1 loss. So there are good statistics here. I don't know if he takes over Cossa because we already have some good statistics here good statistic for Cossa coming in with the Wheat Kings. Mind you, the Wheat Kings were a little bit better, but the U.S. NTDP was great already too. So I'm excited that now. The nice thing is that Cossa was the guy. Now we have Trey Augustine, who is also a guy, and can kind of bring that little bit of competition. They can work against each other, work for each other, right? So that they can say, "Oh my God, I don't want to be the backup," but I think they're going to play a great 1A 1B when they're both up in the system together. But that's going to be a while because Trey Augustine's 18. I think he's 18. We just drafted him, right? Red Wings just drafted him. Yeah, 18. I mean, come on, right? But the nice thing is that, Draper and all them and the scouts got a great look at him. Mind you, his intangible being only 6'1", still tall, right? But supposed to be 6'6". He's so tall. So if he can make his body work, then that's great. Trey Augustine, I hope he turns into more of like a UC Saros, where he's like a little shorter, but he can still perform really well, right? Moving on to the next one, Carter Guylander. So he was drafted in 2019, 7th overall pick. It's a 7th round pick, so whatever you can get, great, awesome. So with playing with Colgate, I think he won the tournament, I believe. No, his team played in the tournament, I believe, in the NCAA. Okay numbers. NCAA the competition is not as high. You are playing against guys your own age. But you can see, this is my one concern with Carter Guylander. He's 7th round pick, right? So if you can get something out of him, he could play in the ECHL, the AHL, maybe the AHL, maybe. Probably more so the ECHL. But you can see he's coming out of he's a senior at Colgate University. But he's put up some good numbers with the Crusaders right here. You can see 915 playoffs, great save percentage there. He's got some good numbers. My biggest issue right now is that his record at the end of the year was a 19-15. So he had more regulation wins than regulation losses. Currently, right now, he has more regulation losses than regulation wins, and his stats dropped a little bit. I wonder if the team got worse, but he is a senior, so he should be getting better. It's like a little concern for me. Mind you, he's only halfway through the season. He probably playing the starter position at this point as a senior, anyways. So hopefully that pans out well for him. But again, it's a 7th round pick, so if you hit, great. If you don't, it's a 7th round pick. You're kind of shooting a dart at the dartboard at this point. So we went to Jan Bednar. There was some discussions about him. He's playing the ECHL right now, 21 years old, drafted 2020 fourth round pick. So not a terrible position, right? You're looking at a guy who is in a first round, second, or third, but fourth is not a 7th, right? But a 4th round pick does give you a little reassurance. But again, it's a goalie. He can take a very long time to develop. You do need these guys in the system, right? And there has been some places where he's performed really well. You can see with Czechia in the U20 at .958, right? Numbers aren't amazing here. You can see this is kind of why he fell to the 4th round pick. In the QMJHL at .894, there's pretty decent amount of scoring in the QMJHL too. But here we go. .9 right with the .912, 2.27, 72. That's not bad, right? Play with the Toledo Walleye. You'd like to see that improve. He's got a 10-1 record though, so they do enjoy playing behind him. But a .882 save percentage, so we like to see that come up. But again, this is a flyer. He's not your main focus in the prospect pool, but you need guys. You need guys that are in your system. Again, everyone's going to focus on Cossa and Trey Augustine, and I agree with that. But you need these other guys who might pan out, right? There are guys that just pan out. Joe Pavelski was a 7th round pick, and now he has the most goals of any active player in the playoffs, more than Sidney Crosby and more than Ovechkin. That's how many goals Pavelski has in the playoffs. Crazy, man. 7th round pick, man. Come on. Datsuk, Zetterberg, 6 and 7th round picks, right? Jamie Benn, 6th round pick. These guys can be found in these positions, which is why, but especially with goalies taking longer, it just takes time, right? John Leatherman, he's not the goalie of the future. He is playing ECHL. He's 27. They signed him. He played with Michigan State. He did play in the AHL with the Ontario Reign, right? He played in the ECHL. He's more of a fixture here. I don't think he's the long-term solution either. I think he's more of a fill-in. He's a good, probably a good vibes guy at this point. He's a filler. So he might pan out. It might get a call-up in the next couple of years, something like that, just to kind of fill in as a 3rd or 4th. But I don't see him panning out too much. It's more so filling out the system. And then lastly, you have the 2023 pick in the 6th round, right? Again, a 6th round similar to 7th. You're just kind of taking a stab at this, right? So he's 18, mind you. So has only played is 18, 16-year-olds and everything. Had some good numbers. Look at this with the Taft School, the USHS Prep, 0.94 in 28 games is pretty good, right? With the USHL, numbers dropped a little bit there, but again, you're just a 6th round pick, so you're just you're filling it at this point. I mean, hey, maybe he works out, maybe he works out, maybe he doesn't. But either way, these are the goalie prospects that I wanted to go over real quick. It's again, I don't like the discussion around all these goalies and how they're being talked about. I don't know if Trey Augustine is the answer. He looks great, and I'm very excited about it. And you can see Elite Prospects even listed all these guys from save percentages this year so far, right? Trey Augustine certainly has the best right now. Hutchinson has the lowest goals against average right now with a 2.8. Oh, nope. John Lithman has a 2.14, but that was only one game in the AHL. So, and yeah, look at this. So he only has one game in the AHL as well with a .923, which is great. One game, right? We need a little consistency there. And I don't think he's going to get that same chance with Hutchinson being there and Cossa being there as well. But I could see potential Trey Augustine being signed to his AHL or an NHL contract as soon as next year, and potentially filling in that spot at the AHL. Maybe he wants to stay in college, which is great. Let him stay in college. Let him play against guys in his own age. And we'll see. I mean, they can still monitor him pretty closely with him being at Michigan State, and Draper would like that. Eisman would like that. So let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you're thinking about thoughts on the goalies. Because I am a little nervous. I'm not super nervous, but I'm a little nervous. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you believe in Cossa? Do you believe in Trey Augustine? Do you believe in Jan Bednar? Is he your guy? Let me know, man. I love you. Catch you later.